As soon as she walked in, it was like a light bulb went off and the sun was on.
At 75, after decades in the limelight, Richard Gere finally opened up about the journey that mattered more than any red carpet, the journey of his heart. In a deeply reflective and emotional confession, the Hollywood legend revealed a truth many spend a lifetime avoiding, that love had not failed him. He had failed love because his heart had not been ready. This was not the story of a man wronged by others, but of someone who, after a lifetime of fame, heartbreak, and lessons, finally understood that true love isn't about finding the perfect partner. It's about becoming the right person at the right moment. And only when he stopped chasing love did he find it, quietly waiting, in the form of a woman who asked nothing from him except his authentic self. For decades, Richard Gere captivated the world, not only with his timeless looks and charisma, but with his romantic aura on screen and off. He dated some of the most beautiful women in the world, married a top supermodel, and became a symbol of elegance and passion. But for all his romantic entanglements, it wasn't until much later in life that he discovered a love that didn't require performance, compromise, or reinvention. This isn't a movie plot. It's the real journey of a man who went from fame to solitude, from external perfection to internal peace. A man who came to understand that love isn't an instant connection. It's something you become ready for. Before he was the iconic star of Pretty Woman, American Gigolo, and An Officer and a Gentleman, Richard Gere was a creative, introspective boy from Pennsylvania. He played the trumpet, composed music for school plays, and studied philosophy at the University of Massachusetts. But his life took a turn when the theater world called. Acting offered him a way to explore different lives, to express what words sometimes couldn't. Soon he became known not just for his talent, but for his allure. Women were drawn to his quiet charm and mysterious nature. But while his romances often sparked quickly, they rarely endured. From fiery model Carol Mallory, who once called him a jewel shooting across the sky, to Days of Heaven co-star Penelope Milford, Richard's early love life was a carousel of passion and loss. One relationship with Brazilian artist Sylvia Martins was especially meaningful, opening him to spirituality, Buddhism, and meditation. But even that deep connection couldn't root him. Not yet. As his career exploded in the late 1970s and early 1980s, so did the distractions. Parties, hotel rooms, film sets, and flashing cameras created a haze around him. Love came, love went. But Richard remained emotionally distant, not by cruelty, but by unawareness. He didn't yet understand what he needed or what it meant to truly stay. In 1988, fate brought him to Cindy Crawford, the radiant 22-year-old supermodel who was redefining American beauty. He was 39. They met at a barbecue hosted by photographer Herb Ritz and quickly became one of the most glamorous couples of the early 90s. Living together in New York, they were a constant tabloid fixture. Beautiful, successful, seemingly perfect. But their realities diverged. While Cindy juggled modeling and press, trying to discover who she was beneath the surface, Richard longed for stillness, silence, and simplicity. Their 1991 Vegas wedding, spontaneous and private, reflected a desperate hope to hold on to something already slipping. Years later, Cindy admitted, "I tried to become the woman he needed and lost myself in the process." By 1995, they parted quietly, without scandal or bitterness. Richard would later say, "I loved a woman who didn't yet know who she was, and I thought love could fix that. But that was unfair. No one was wrong. We just met at the wrong time." After Cindy, Richard stepped away from high-profile romances. No more red carpets with supermodels. Instead, he retreated into meditation, humanitarian work, and selective film roles. That's when Carrie Lowell came into his life, a grounded, calm presence known for her role as a Bond girl in License to Kill. Their relationship was low-key. They moved in together in 1995, and in 2000, welcomed their son, Homer. By 2002, they quietly married, far from the glare of the media. They lived in Pound Ridge, New York, gardening, reading, and living deliberately. But even in peace, cracks can form. While Richard spent hours in spiritual retreats or silent meditation, Gere sought emotional connection and active engagement. Over time, their differences became impossible to bridge. In 2013, after 11 years of marriage, Gere filed for divorce, citing irreconcilable differences. Though deeply private, the separation became public due to legal battles over their $45 million fortune and property. Still, both remained committed to co-parenting their gentle, introspective son. For a time, it seemed that Richard had turned the page on love altogether. He vanished from public life. No interviews, no premieres. Many believed he had accepted solitude as his new reality. Yet life, as always, had another chapter waiting. In 2014, Richard briefly dated Padma Lakshmi, the brilliant and vibrant Top Chef host and author. Their connection was real. Thoughtful conversations, quiet dinners, but ultimately fleeting. Padma, in the midst of a high-energy career, was in a very different place than Richard, who now yearned for simplicity and stillness. They parted respectfully, remaining friends. But something had changed. Through that experience, Richard came to a quiet realization. Love couldn't be forced, and timing couldn't be ignored. He let go of the search, and just as he stopped chasing, love arrived, without warning. That love was Alejandra Silva, a Spanish publicist, activist, and philanthropist with a kind spirit and deep convictions. Not a Hollywood starlet, not a model gracing international covers. Alejandra was rooted, compassionate, and genuine. When they met again in 2014 at a hotel in Positano, both were mid-divorce, emotionally fragile, and vulnerable. But they saw beyond the brokenness. They saw potential. Unlike past relationships, Richard didn't try to win Alejandra over with grand gestures. Instead, he sent flowers daily, wrote her songs, and patiently allowed her to choose him. Alejandra hesitated, concerned about the 33-year age gap, about fame, about judgment. But Richard never pushed. He simply waited. And in that patience, Alejandra saw something rare. A man who wasn't performing or convincing, just being. A man who had stopped chasing and started becoming. They married in April 2018 in an intimate spiritual ceremony. Surrounded by friends and family, Richard Gere, the man who once stood at the center of Hollywood's wildest tales, had finally found something enduring. Not just love, but home. With Alejandra, Richard found not a partner who completed him, but one who accepted him, fully, gently, and without condition. They now share 2 sons and a life centered on family, philanthropy, and faith. The man who once needed the spotlight now thrives in quiet joy. Richard's love story defies fairy tale expectations. There was no perfect moment, no instant soulmate. Instead, there was growth, humility, mistakes, and evolution. He came to understand that love isn't about passion alone or cinematic gestures. It's about readiness, about showing up as someone capable of staying. In his own words, love isn't about finding the right person, it's about becoming the right man. And he did. If this story moved you, please give it a thumbs up, share it with someone who needs hope, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more powerful, real-life stories of love, growth, and second chances. Thank you for watching.